Good morning, Cynthia.
Good morning, Cynthia.
Good morning, Dr. Andrea. How are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
Hey, doing well. Thank you for your time, and Michigan Mom Living appreciates it.
Well, it's great to be here.
Thank you. We're talking about inflammatory bowel disease, managing Crohn's disease with diet. So, doctor, tell us what IBS is and what falls under that umbrella.
So I want to make a first basic distinction for you. One is we in the medical community made a mistake of using abbreviations that are really similar. One is IBS and one is IBD. IBS stands for irritable bowel syndrome. We're not going to talk much about that today, even though it's more common. We're going to talk about inflammatory bowel disease, which is an umbrella term that includes Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And these are two chronic, relapsing inflammatory disorders that involve the intestines.
So what are some of the symptoms then of IBD, and how can you be diagnosed?
The most common symptoms would include diarrhea, which sometimes is bloody, abdominal pain, and weight loss. But other patients may have additional symptoms. These might include arthritis, fatigue, various skin changes, etc. And I think the second part of your question is how can it be diagnosed? Almost always this requires an evaluation by a gastroenterologist. Usually this will include undergoing a colonoscopy, which is a test where you're asleep, there's a camera on the end of a tube, and it looks inside your large intestines, although sometimes the diagnosis is based on imaging tests such as a CAT scan or an MRI.
So I know we mentioned here about diet. So how is that an interest in this area and the impact it has on the patients with their diet?
Andrew, do you want to take that?
Sure. So I guess one of the biggest things as a patient that you are concerned with immediately almost is what kind of role can you play in the management of your disease. So paying great attention to what is going in and thus what is coming out is I guess a more partnership role that patients can take in this. One of the primary characteristics, I guess, especially for me with this disease, was feeling that everything was volatile all the time. Symptoms are volatile. How I was feeling was volatile. And focusing on diet was one very tangible thing that I knew I had control of, that I could record and sort of study, if you will, as part of the other care strategies, I guess, with my medical team.
So this DINE-CD study, tell us about that and the results, and where are we at with that right now?
Sure. Thanks for asking. DINE-CD is a clinical trial where we are comparing two different diets as a treatment for patients with Crohn's disease with mild to moderate symptoms. And the two diets are, one is a Mediterranean-style diet, which I suspect many of your viewers are already familiar with. And the second is a diet referred to as the specific carbohydrate diet. This second diet has been used to treat a number of different inflammatory disorders, although the evidence is essentially anecdotal at this point because we don't have well-designed, well-controlled clinical trials to demonstrate the efficacy of the diet. So here we're comparing the diet that would probably be the most recommended for people to eat, Mediterranean-style diet, versus the specific carbohydrate diet to try and figure out whether one is better than the other. And I would just point out that the specific carbohydrate diet is much more restrictive than the Mediterranean-style diet. So we're really trying to understand this balance of the two.
So why is it important for patients to participate in this clinical research, in this study?
Well, if I could address that, the way I think about it, almost anybody in America who's over, let's say, the age of 30 probably takes some medication. And those medications only get marketed in the United States and around the world once they're proven to be both safe and effective. The only way that can happen is for people to participate in clinical trials. Now, what we're doing here is different. We're studying 2 different diets, and we all have to eat. So, it's very low risk to eat one diet versus the other. But many times, patients will, it sort of seems scary, the thought of participating in a clinical trial. Oh, they're going to be experimenting on me. But I really would like to emphasize that in modern day research, clinical trials are done under very careful scrutiny of ethics review boards to make sure that these are done in a way that protects the participant's safety.
Well, great. Well, where can our listeners and readers go for more information?
So if they would like to get information about Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis in general, a great place would be to go to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation's website at www.crohnscolitisfoundation.org. And for information about the DYNE-CD trial and to find a site near you, you can go to www.clinicaltrials.gov and then just type in DYNE-CD, D-I-N-E-C-D.
Great. Now, was there anything we didn't cover in this interview that you wanted to mention yet?
I think the main thing that I'd like to bring up is just that these are not uncommon diseases. Almost any of your viewers, I can assure you that they know somebody who has Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, even if they haven't spoken to them about it. They're very common, and by all means, we need to find the best way to treat these diseases to improve people's quality of life.
Wonderful. Thank you, both of you, for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.